The night was quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that presses against your ears until you notice your own breathing. Somewhere in that silence, a gunshot cracked through the darkness, and in a single moment, a young woman's dreams collapsed into blood-soaked concrete. But the most terrifying part of this story is not how she died, it's who was standing beside her when it happened. Because sometimes, the person who promises you forever is the one who decides you don't deserve a tomorrow tonight. I want you to imagine a love story. Young, intelligent, full of promise. Now imagine that love story turning into a carefully staged nightmare. A lie built on lies. A marriage built on fear. This is the Mark Hacking case. Mark Hacking and Lori Hacking looked perfect from the outside. The kind of couple people admired without thinking twice. They were young, newly married, and surrounded by ambition. Lori was bright, driven, and deeply focused on her future. She dreamed of becoming a doctor. She studied constantly, pushing herself through exhaustion because she believed her life had purpose. Mark was different, quiet, soft-spoken, the kind of man who smiled just enough to avoid questions to outsiders. He seemed supportive, a devoted husband, but beneath that calm surface something was rotting. They lived in Salt Lake City, Utah, a place where mornings feel clean and orderly, where danger doesn't announce itself loudly, and where sometimes evil hides behind polite conversations and closed doors. Lori trusted Mark. She trusted him with her dreams. She trusted him with her future. She trusted him with her life. But Mark had a secret, and secrets, when buried too deep, begin to demand violence. In the weeks leading up to Lori's death, something felt off. Not dramatic, not explosive, just small cracks in the surface. Missed calls, vague answers, stories that didn't quite line up. Mark had told Lori he was accepted into medical school, that he was on his way to becoming a doctor. Just like she planned to be, it was a shared dream. A future they talked about late at night. White coats, long shifts, a life built on achievement. But that future was a lie. Mark had not been accepted anywhere. He wasn't even enrolled in every day. That past brought him closer to being exposed. Lori began asking questions, small ones at first, then sharper ones. And with each question, Mark felt the walls closing in. On the night everything ended, Salt Lake City slept, streetlights hummed. A light breeze moved through the trees. Lori believed she was going on a walk with her husband, a simple walk, a moment to breathe. They drove toward a local park, an ordinary place. Concrete paths, dark corners, shadows, stretching longer as the night deepened. At some point, the conversation changed, words became heavier, silences grew uncomfortable, and then, without warning, the gun came out. There was no dramatic struggle, no screaming chase, just a sudden explosion of sound in the dark, the echo of a shot bouncing off empty pavement. Lori never saw it coming. When the gun fired, her future ended instantly. The woman who wanted to heal others was left bleeding on cold ground, her body stilled, her dreams erased. Mark stood there, looking at what he had done, and instead of running, he waited. Moments later, he shot himself, or at least, that's what he wanted everyone to believe. When emergency responders arrived, they found Mark alive, wounded, but breathing. Lori was already gone. The scene looked simple, a tragic murder attempt to cover up, destroyed by despair, but investigators don't trust simplicities, and this scene was screaming with quiet inconsistencies. Mark's injuries were suspicious, survivable, carefully placed. Not the desperate act of a man trying to die, or the calculated wound of someone trying to look like he tried. As Mark lay in a hospital bed, doctors worked to save him, and detectives began pulling at threads. They talked to friends, family members, classmates, and slowly, a different picture emerged. Mark Hacking wasn't just lying to Lori, he was lying to everyone. He had fabricated transcripts, forged acceptance letters, invented an entire medical career that never existed. Every morning, he pretended to go to class. Every evening, he came home exhausted from a life he wasn't living at. Lori was getting closer to the truth. Witnesses revealed. Arguments. Tension. Fear. Mark wasn't just afraid of disappointing his wife. He was terrified of being exposed as a fraud in his mind. There were only two outcomes: confession or elimination. The gun was not impulsive. It was purchased deliberately. The location chosen carefully. The story rehearsed. This wasn't a moment of madness, it was a decision. As Mark recovered, police questioned him. His answers were hesitant, scripted carefully, controlled. The lies crack under pressure. Ballistics didn't support his version. The angle, the timing, the lack of struggle, everything pointed in one direction. Mark Hacking didn't snap. He planned. When confronted with evidence, his composure collapsed. The calm mask slipped, and behind it was panicked. Eventually, the truth surfaced. Mark admitted that Lori was going to leave him, that she was discovering his lies, that his entire identity was about to fall apart. So he chose control over confession, death over exposure. Lori trusted him. She followed him into The dark because she believed she was safe. That trust became the weapon. Mark was arrested, charged, and sentenced to life in prison. But even behind bars, the story doesn't rest easily because people still ask, how long can someone pretend before they decide to destroy everything? How many lies does it take before murder feels like the only escape? Laurie Hacking's name now lives in true crime history, but she was more than a victim. She was a woman with purpose. A future stolen by deception. Mark Hacking sits in silence, surrounded by the truth he tried to kill. And somewhere, in the quiet spaces of ordinary lives, other secrets are being buried. Other lies are growing heavier, the most dangerous. People are not always the loudest. Sometimes they're the ones who smile, hold your hand, and walk beside you into the dark. Because not all monsters hide in shadows. Some share your bed. And the most terrifying question of all is this: how well do you really know the person you love? If you found this story chilling, subscribe for more mysteries, because some cases never close.